music. We're gonna use like a whole huge mess of props today. So just make sure you have a bunch of different items around you. I know I sent it out in the email, but certainly a bolster or something like that, maybe a rolled up blanket. A blanket would be good. If you have one prop only, it would be a blanket. You can use it as a strap, a bolster. Clearly you can use it as a blanket. So just gathering your things and yeah, take a moment to kind of figure out how you want to situate yourself at the beginning of practice. It might be nice to take a seated meditation, but you also might be interested in a restorative bridge pose. So I have my bolster over there in the middle of my mat, and it might feel nice just to elevate your hips up on the bolster as we get started this morning. We'll just wait a couple more minutes before we like officially start. It's such a gray and rainy morning, and I know that it can be a little challenging to move quickly, and thankfully this is yin yoga and we do not have to move fast. It's always a wonderful thing. Hi Deb, hi Cami, hi Ann. Oh, yay. All right. And it might be nice to keep the controls of your music nearby if you plan on using the music today. Of course, it's not, ever a requirement, but sometimes that little bit of, I don't know, I think of music as like a healing force. So maybe you're similar to me in that way. All right. So yeah, if you're just joining us, if you're rolling in, we're going to get started in a restorative bridge pose, I am thinking this morning. And if you have a blanket to roll up, if you have a bolster, those are really good tools for the restorative bridge pose. You could also use a block here, but I think we want to go for a little more cushiness to begin with. If you like the hard edges of the block or that firmness, feel free, of course. But we're just going to get settled in here for a little while, and you can press play on your music as soon as you lie down or on your way to lying down. So just giving yourself a chance to get set up so that you're comfortable. Both of your knees could be bent this whole time, feet on the floor. Okay, both of your legs could be extended out long if your low back is okay with that. Maybe one leg is out long and the other one is bent. And there's really no wrong way to do this. And if it feels kind of intense to have your hips elevated on your bolster, your blanket, or the block, you can always just take it away. Right, what we're trying to do here is to create a little bit more length in those deep core muscles that fire when we're stressed out, that get kind of tense and tight. So just take your time. Wonderful. And as you settle in, notice your low belly. And maybe even that space between your lower ribs and down into your pelvis. Placing a little bit more focus on that area right now. And the way it moves. Does it feel kind of clenched this morning? Are you holding any tension there? Any heaviness? And I wanted to get started this morning by reading this little bit out of Thich Nhat Hanh's How to Relax called Climbing the Mountain. He wrote, I once traveled with a delegation to China and climbed Wu Tai Shan, a famous mountain there. The path to the top is very steep, and usually people arrive exhausted. There are 1,080 steps to climb. Before setting out, I suggested our delegation breathe, make a step, relax. Breathe, make another step, and relax. Our intention was to climb the mountain in a way that we could enjoy each moment of the climbing. Every 10 steps or so, we would sit down, look around, breathe, and smile. We didn't need to arrive. We arrived in every step with peace, stillness, solidity, and freedom. When we got to the top, everyone was so happy and full of energy. Every step, even uphill, can bring mindfulness, concentration, joy, and insight. Good. We'll settle in here for just a few more minutes of stillness. You might spend like a few of these breaths just briefly acknowledging the week you had, or acknowledging the month or the past year or whatever comes to mind. Taking a few moments to acknowledge it, and with your exhale, maybe symbolically let it go just for now. Maybe just for now, we don't have to carry around the heaviness of things. And let your belly move here. Another 15 breaths. And really tune into the sound of your exhale. You let it be the most important piece of this puzzle right now. Good. 5 more breaths, following them all the way from where they are, where it's at the bottom, where you're empty, all the way up to the inhale, the top of the inhale, where you're full, and all the way back down again. Good. As if you're moving up and down your body. Noticing your lungs fill up and empty out again. Good. 2 more deep breaths. All right, and then from here, let's bring the knees in towards the chest, up on the bolster or the blanket so that your hips are a little bit elevated, and maybe take a little rock from side to side here. I know when I do this, I really feel it in between my shoulder blades. Feel that whole upper back pressing down into the floor. You just take a few breaths just like this, kind of massaging out the back of the heart. Wonderful. And then go ahead and set your feet back down. And we're going to keep our hips elevated for a little bit and see if you can grab a hold of your strap. All right, we're going to take the strap, or maybe you have like a t-shirt or a blanket or a belt or something around. Let's bring it up around the sole of the foot, the left foot to begin with, I think. And we're going to keep that right foot on the floor, or if you prefer, you can extend that right leg out long. Right. If you have like a classic yoga strap or something that will withstand movement here, maybe you want to pull one side of the strap, then the other side of the strap to kind of massage the bottom of your foot. All right. So just taking a little bit of time to wake the foot up, to notice the back of the leg, and then the front of that other hip. Good. Yeah, a few more moments here, maybe 5 breaths or so. Good. Go ahead and release the strap from that foot and just set it down gently and kind of reset here. It might mean that you're placing both of the feet on the floor and kind of rocking the knees side to side, still keeping your hips up on the bolster. Maybe you want a little stillness, or if you want to take an active bridge pose, you can just pick your hips up and really engage the glutes and the muscles that surround your spine. Good. A few more breaths. Right, if you have your hips lifted, go ahead and set them back down on your bolster or your block. And then let's place the strap around the bottom of the right foot. And at first, just a little bit of time here to notice how both legs are feeling, how your low back feels. Oops, maybe you're extending that left leg out long, or maybe it stays bent. Good, and then that really gentle pull of the strap side to side so that the sole of your foot gets a little bit of like a massage here. Good, just a few more breaths. Alrighty, and then go ahead and just release that strap from the sole of the right foot. Let's set that foot down again here and just take a few moments, either in stillness or in that active bridge pose if you like that. Or maybe you want to take some kind of intuitive movement here, rocking the knees. The whole time, think about keeping your chin drawn in towards your throat so that the back of your neck gets long, unclenches. Good, and then from here, let's bring the feet up towards the ceiling, legs on the invisible wall. And I think we're gonna hang on to this for like 2 minutes or so. So here you can have your arms alongside you, or you can place your hands in your belly or overhead. And I want to encourage you to just move your ankles around in the ways that feel most appropriate. So maybe it's some circles or figure eights with your ankles. Another nice thing you could do is just shake your legs out, just shake them really good and kind of let the muscles move away from the bones. Maybe you want to pretend that you're like having a like an air temper tantrum. Maybe it's been that kind of a week. You just want to like really kick around, and that's fine. Go for it. All right, or maybe stillness suits you. Just take some time here, another minute or so to breathe. Have those feet elevated. And to really let your head relax down into the floor and the muscles of your face get nice and soft here. See if you can notice the pulse in your ankles and your feet. Okay, and then we're gonna start to make our way back into either knees to chest with your hips up on the bolster, or a supported snail pose, which is where you extend your legs long. Your knees are still in towards your chest, but your toes are kind of pointing down and overhead here. Yeah, just to find a little space through the backs of the legs and really the whole back body. If you want to grab a hold of your toes, that's an option, but maybe those arms stay heavy here and soft. Good, notice that space in between the shoulder blades. And the place where the bolster or block hits your lower back, where you're supported. Good, 2 more breaths here. Good, go ahead and bring the soles of the feet back down to the floor. And let's take the bolster out of the way. I think we're kind of done with it for a moment, at least. So as you slide it out of the way, bring your hips down to the floor and just give your lower body that side to side rock. Good, finding some fluidity in this movement. Your hands might press down into your belly or that space in between your lower ribs and the top of your pelvis. Good, maybe your hands are out past your head. Good, and then bring yourself back through to the center. Let's take our hands and place them underneath our lower back so that our thumbs and index fingers kind of frame the sacrum. It's creating this little bit of support here. Good, and then we're gonna take the legs up again. And this is optional. You can take the legs up and kind of hang out here and legs up the invisible wall if that's what you like. You can shake the legs again. Or you might decide to lower one leg and keep the other one lifted and kind of hover and hold, but still breathe. Good, and then drop the other leg down, lift the leg. Good, just kind of scissoring back and forth here. And noticing maybe your belly shaking a little bit. Yeah, this is the time of year where we got to work real hard to kind of create our own internal warmth. And so taking time just to breathe, to notice, to shake, perhaps. Couple more breaths. Good, and then bring the knees in towards the chest. Let's take the soles of the feet together and the knees out wide for recline bound angle. Good, and once you find your recline bound angle, I'm a big fan of taking my hands onto my thighs and into my hip creases and just kind of giving myself a little bit of a massage, almost like pushing my hips down, okay, and away from my shoulders. Good, but eventually, it might be nice to just take your hands onto your low belly and watch them kind of rise and fall. You notice how big your breath is this morning. Good, a couple more breaths here, maybe 5. Good, and then very slowly start to draw your knees up and towards each other, moving as slow as you possibly can. And you might again like notice a little bit of shaking along the way. Our body just does that sometimes. Good, once you get up to the top, press into the feet, pick up the hips, and just scoot your knees over to the right. So we're gonna take a little bit of a twist here. And the twist can be really easygoing with something underneath your knees or in between them. Or maybe you want to wrap that left thigh over the right thigh and come into a more intense twist. Right? The choice is always yours. Okay, but I think in twists, like in pretty much everything else, forcing it's not so great. So just see what your body has to offer as far as movement goes this morning. And just meet yourself where you are. Good. Breathe deeply into the places that feel like it needs a deep breath. Whether that's an actual physical place or something a little less concrete. Good, and breathe not just for yourself, but for the people who you come into regular contact with, whether that's in person or virtually these days. You know, all the people who you lean on and who lean on you. Good. For these last 8 breaths on this side, really focus on softening your jaw and softening your glutes. Good. And then watch the breath move here, wherever it moves, wherever you move. Good. One more deep breath here. And just start to find the center again. And once you get there, your body will probably tell you what to do for at least a few breaths. Mine is asking me to kind of curl up into a ball. Maybe yours wants to take a happy baby or a bridge pose or lay in Shavasana. Okay, maybe your body wants to rock along the length of your spine and catch a boat pose a couple of times. Might be nice if you've got an overabundance of energy this morning. Good, a few more breaths. Good, and then from here, we're gonna make our way over into the twist on the other side. So just scooting the hips to the right, dropping the knees to the left, and taking notice if you need or want a little something in between or under the knees for support. We're gonna be here for a little while. So it's kind of good to feel comfortable. Okay, at least a little comfortable. And as you get settled in, you might notice the right shoulder, and if it feels somewhat lifted, it could be helpful to scoot both of your shoulders over to the left. Good, and it might also be nice to place your left hand on your belly here and just take notice of the movement of your breath. Good, maybe another 8 breaths or so here. You might shift a little bit, or you might commit to being just where you are. Maybe deepening that breath a touch. Good. One more big breath here. Perfect. And then we're gonna make our way onto our backs again. And let's all send our arms out past our head. You might clasp your elbows overhead, maybe the arms are loose, maybe your hands are kind of gently interlaced, your elbows are soft. And let's take the knees here and bring them right above the hips, just about. Maybe you want to move the knees a little bit in front of the hips to use the belly muscles. And then deeply flex your feet. All right, and let's just take a couple of breaths here. You can choose to hold still, or you can choose to rock around a little bit if your body is kind of craving movement right now. See if your jaw can relax a little bit. 3 more breaths. All right, and then go ahead and set your feet down. We're gonna roll over to one side or the other, and then come up to a seat. And you might move really slowly. Maybe you want to sit up and sip your coffee or your tea for a few moments. Maybe you want to just rest on your side for a few moments. Good. But eventually, once you come to sit up, make sure that you feel like you can sit up for just, like 5 minutes or so. You might want to sit up on a bolster or a blanket or something like that. And we're going to kind of cross our legs here for a bit, or just arrange your legs in any comfortable way. And why don't we just take a little bit of time for some self-massage? Feels like a good thing to do on a Sunday morning. We're going to get started with our face. So just take your index and middle fingers and bring them up into your third eye point, that place right in between your eyebrows. And then take your thumbs and bring them underneath your eyebrows and just kind of pinch here. Pinch your eyebrows all the way around. Not in a painful way, but just in like that little bit of like a, I don't know, just like a little bit of like a soothing pressure, I guess. Right, maybe the middle finger leaves the equation. Maybe the middle finger kind of curls up while the index and thumb do most of the work here. And as you're pinching those eyebrows, allow your eyeballs to kind of soften. Allow your jaw to relax. Good, and then let your fingers kind of rest in your temples for a moment. You might even kind of drag down a little bit. And then take your middle 3 fingers, ring, middle, and index finger, and kind of spread them out on your brow. So your ring fingers in between your eyebrows and your index fingers on the top. And we're just going to like rake the brow here. Let's rake from the center out. We'll do this a couple of times. Good, a couple more breaths. Good, and then gather up all your fingers in your temples, and then down on either side of your jaw. And then take your thumb and place it on the underside of your jaw, and we're just going to slide the fingers and the thumb down to the chin and back up again a couple times. Good, a couple more breaths. All right, great. And then we're going to take both index fingers up to the third eye point again, in between your eyebrows, and slide them down the sides of your nose into that little depression on either side of your nose, just above your teeth. You'll kind of feel it. And then take a couple breaths through your nose if you can. Good, and then just go ahead and release your hands. Take your right hand onto your left shoulder and give your left shoulder and upper arm and elbow and lower arm a squeeze. We're just going to squeeze up and down that whole left arm. Okay, and as you move up and down this left arm, you might kind of say in your mind, this is my left arm. This is nobody else's left arm, it's just mine. Let's see if you can really feel your left arm. Good, let's take that left arm and give it a little bit of a swing around here in a big circle. Great. Notice the underarm. Try not to ignore your armpit. Your armpit is a really wonderful place in your body. Okay, it does so much for us. It's the start of our heart meridian, and yet for some reason we all dislike our armpits. So maybe just a little bit of armpit love here. Let's take that right hand and place it into the armpit and just give it a little massage, a little something. You might squeeze the side of your chest as well. All right, good. And let's let go of that left arm and just maybe give it a shake. And then we're going to take that left hand over to the right arm and give it a squeeze. Bring it up and down a few times. Your hand in contact with your arm, your wrist. Squeezing the front and the back, biceps and triceps. And saying to yourself, this is my right arm. This is nobody else's right arm, it's my right arm. Good, a few more moments of this little squeeze massage action. All right, and then let's start to take that right arm around in a big circle a few times. And in both directions. I don't know if I mentioned that on the other side, but yeah, let's give it a couple of big circles. Good, going the other way. Good, and then let's take the left hand underneath and a little massage here, a little armpit massage. I don't know why, I still get the giggles like I'm like a kid or something whenever I rub my own armpits. I don't know if maybe it brings a smile to your face too. Good. All right, and then let's just hug ourselves. Wrap both fingertips, sets of fingertips around the upper back. Pull your chin in towards your chest. Maybe pull's not the right word, but drop your head down. There you go. No forcing, remember that. Good, and then open up those arms nice and wide. Take a good look up here, and then we'll just hug around the other way too. Good, release those arms, give them a little shake. And we're gonna send that left leg out in front of us. And let's do a little self-massage on this left leg as well. Maybe I should call this class I Touch Myself. I don't know, but a lot of self-massage in this class. It's hard for us to go out and like do this right now, right? But our bodies still require touch, even if it's our own. So let's spend just a little bit of time with our left leg, massaging from the ankle, the back of the knee, the meat of your thigh, maybe up into the glutes even a touch, a little squeeze at the side of your hip. Perfect. And saying to yourself, this is my left leg. This is my strong left leg. Good, a few more breaths. And then we're gonna fold over this left leg for just a little while. Okay, you can stay up on your bolster or blanket if you want to. I'm gonna do that just to keep it really soft and easygoing. But you might wanna come off of your bolster and take like a classic Janu Shirshasana, really reaching for that foot. Choice is yours. And another handful of breaths here, 5 or so. Good. And then slowly start to roll yourself up and out of this. It might feel nice to take your hands behind you the soles of both of your feet to the floor, and either just draw the shoulder blades towards each other and lift the heart and drop the head back. Or if you feel like lifting the hips, that's a thought. You could do that too. Just for a couple breaths. Good. And as you're ready, you can sit those hips back down if they're lifted. Let's extend that right leg out long and kind of fold that left leg in. And then that nice self-massage down the whole length of your right leg. This is your dominant side. How does it feel? Everything's different over here. You say to yourself, this is my strong right leg. Good, really listen to your breathing. Let's take a few more breaths with this movement. And then eventually fold yourself in on that right leg. Really allow the chest to drop down, nice and heavy. The head might drop down too. Good, and then the last few breaths here. Right, and slowly start to sit yourself up. And then we're actually gonna stand up today. So maybe you're trying to stand up without using your hands. Maybe you're using your hands, that's great. Whatever you need to do. And let's find our ball, if you've got a ball around. Let's spend a little bit of time just getting into the soles of our feet. So I'm gonna take my ball, place it on the floor, and it doesn't really matter which foot you start with, but just roll that ball around the bottom of your foot. Just enough so that you're getting some sensation, but it's not like overwhelmingly intense. I'm taking a movement for trauma training right now, and it's really wonderful training. And we practice this exercise frequently because when we roll out our feet are the furthest point away from the area of our body that responds to stress. So most of our stress response happens between our shoulders and our hips. The furthest point we can get away from all of that is the sole of our feet. So it doesn't have to be like trauma that you're dealing with. If you're just even dealing with some low-grade stress, this can be a really nice way to kind of come out of that stress response and ground yourself again. All right, so just a couple more moments with this one foot. And then let that go and just stand up. Let's stand in a mountain pose. This is mountain class. So we might as well stand in mountain pose for a couple of deep breaths. And notice the foot that you just rolled out. Notice the other foot. And notice your balance side to side and front to back. All right, I'm going to invite you to either take your hands onto the top of your head and let them rest there and kind of press the crown up into the hands, or to gather up your hair and pull it up, sort of. Yeah, so either way is fine. Whatever works best for you. Okay, so feel the very top of your head, but also the soles of your feet. These places exist in the same body, in the same moment. Good. One more breath. All right, if your arms are overhead, drop them down. If you're pulling your hair, let it go. And let's take the ball to the other foot and just give it a little roll. A little back and forth, a little front to back. If you find a place on your foot that feels really uncomfortable, I think in the past I would have been like, ooh, stay there, that's the good stuff. But maybe just try to be gentle with it. Now, current me says, be gentle with it. Maybe don't poke at the painful stuff quite so hard. Some of us have a tendency to want to do that, huh? So just a couple breaths, maybe 7 or 8 more with this foot. Good. Keep your breathing nice and smooth, and notice if you're breathing through your nose or if you're breathing through your mouth. If you find yourself congested, you can always bring your fingertips up into those points on either side of your nose that we practiced before. Yeah. Good. All right, and go ahead and release that foot. Set it down. First, let's take our classic mountain pose. Palms sort of looking forward. And maybe the knees are kind of engaged. The thighs are lifting. The lower ribs lift. The collarbones broaden. Weight back into the heels. Good. A deep breath in and out. All right, and one more time, let's make contact with the top of the head, whether that's pulling your own hair, whether that's hands on the top of the head. All right, anything will do. And see if you can bring the feet a little bit closer together. You might even have your inner ankles kind of touching. Yeah, and notice your own wobble here. Spread your toes out wide. Check in with your sense of steadiness this morning. Maybe you're closing your eyes and kind of getting in touch with the internal sense of steadiness and how that kind of affects your physical body. Couple more breaths up into the crown of the head, down into the soles of the feet. All right, and then go ahead and release. Widen the feet. Give yourself a little swing. Just kind of an intuitive swing. You might even like pick up your feet, pick up the knees. Maybe your arms are like swinging overhead. There's no wrong way to swing. Good, and then wiggle those shoulders, wiggle those knees, shake the muscle from the bone. Give yourself a moment of just wild movement. How often do we like move in a wild way? I don't think we do it enough. All right, yeah, nice everyone. Whew, just another breath or two. All right, now let's strengthen our dignity muscles a little bit. We're gonna do chair pose, and I apologize, this is definitely not a yin pose. But we kind of did it in a yin way before on our backs. So let's think about sitting down. Your feet are maybe like hip socket distance, maybe they're close. Your arms reach up. Notice your glutes, they're really working here to hold you up. Notice those muscles that surround the spine, they're doing the same thing. Good, another breath or two. And then let's fold ourselves forward over 2 long legs. Good. Yeah, arrange your feet so that your legs are comfortable. so that your knees are not feeling very strained. You might take a bolster or a block or something underneath your hands so you can make contact with your hands and something floor-like. Might also feel good to tug on your hair here at the top of the head, or to interlace your fingers and rest them at the back of the neck. And we'll spend about 2 minutes just hanging out here. Ooh, sometimes that self-massage of the legs can be really wonderful here. So that's something you might also throw in. Good, 5 more breaths here. You might bring in a gentle swing. The upper body might move side to side here. And another thought is to take standing yoga mudra, so interlacing your fingers behind your back, pressing your knuckles up. Good, and then from here, I think maybe one downward dog. So walking those hands to the top of the mat, the feet to the back, your body this nice inverted V. Drop the head down, give it a really gentle shake here. You might even stick your tongue out. Good, and we're gonna take some time to find our bellies or a child's pose. So whichever one suits you best. Or we'll hang out for a few minutes. If you're curling up in your child's pose, it might be nice to have a bolster underneath your torso. If you're down on your belly, something under the hips might feel kind of nice too. Good. Good, and just notice the speed of your breathing. Good. Notice your physical body and the way it receives your breath. And the way it lets your breath go. Good, and I, of course, have another poem to read. Actually, I have 2 poems to read today. And I'll start with this one by Mary Oliver, The Poet Dreams of the Mountain. Sometimes I grow weary of the days with all their fits and starts. I want to climb some old gray mountain slowly, taking the rest of my lifetime to do it, resting often, sleeping under the pines or above them on the unclothed rocks. I want to see how many stars are still in the sky that we have smothered for years now, a century at least. I want to look back at everything, forgiving it all, and peaceful, knowing the last thing there is to know. All that urgency, not what the earth is about. How silent the trees, their poetry being of themselves only. I want to take slow steps and think appropriate thoughts. In 10,000 years, maybe a piece of the mountain will fall. And breathing into this body of yours. Slow breaths. Good. And maybe just about another minute here. So if you have your head turned to one side or the other, you might flip it. Good. If you flipped your head, soften your jaw and the corners of your eyes. Right, and then we'll take our time just to transition into your final shape, which might be Shavasana or a relaxed mountain on its back. Maybe you want to sit up in meditation. Legs up the wall might be especially nice today. Or maybe restorative bridge like we began. But of course, know that it's your body, it's your practice, it's your time. You can just do the thing that feels like the thing to do. Your allegiance is to yourself first and foremost in all of these poses and practices. So getting yourself settled, slowly moving into it, whatever it is. Good, and taking your time to notice wherever you are, the breadth of your collarbones. Good, and the movement of the sides of your rib cage as you breathe. Your body, a living, breathing body. Notice your beating heart. Your belly that processes things. The weight of your bones and the lightness of your breath. And breathing deeply for yourself, your own life force. Acknowledging that ripple effect. The way your life force affects others' life force. Yeah, on this gray morning, I want to invite you to just be however you need to be for the end of your practice. If you love lying down, if you're in your restorative pose and you want to stay there for a little while longer, that's great. But if you are on to the next thing or ready for your seat, then come on up. Yeah, nice. And I just have one last little poem to read you from Hafiz. And he wrote, "Out of a great need, we are all holding hands and climbing. Not loving is a letting go. Listen, the terrain around here is far too dangerous for that." I love that. All right, let's take our hands, stretch them out really, really wide as if we can like touch each other. I'm like touching the edges of my square. I kind of got my hands on you guys. Stretch them wide and then let's bring everything into the heart and set one hand down on top of the other. And take a quick peek at the faces in front of you. Take a quick peek at your own face. There you are. Awesome. All right, let's drop our heads down towards our hands and our heart, honoring our practice and honoring each other. Namaste. Thanks, everybody.